is going against one another. The over-under in this game is nearly 53 points. So a lot of folks expecting a high-scoring football game on Sunday between the Falcons and the Saints. So you got, as we mentioned, Drew Brees, the ageless one, 39 years old, will be 39 in January, and a guy this year who's potentially got the best, I believe, the best offensive unit surrounding him completely when it comes, especially to that Thunder Lightning combination with Mark Ingram, who's rushed for over 1,000 yards, Alvin Kamara, who I believe will be Offensive Rookie of the Year in the NFL for this New Orleans Saints football team. And this is a team in the New Orleans Saints, number 1 in total offense in the National Football League, number 3 in scoring offense, averaging nearly 29 points per game, and are a 6-point favorite at home against a team in Atlanta who's been inconsistent at best this year. They had a bad middle stretch of the season where they saw them lose games to Buffalo, saw them lose to New York, and they also had a loss against Miami. So this Atlanta football team is looking to still put themselves in position to make the playoffs. This is a battle for NFC South supremacy, not to mention just the bitter rivalry between the Falcons and the Saints to begin with. But I'm picking the Saints to win this game on the strength of their offense and that Thunder Lightning combination between Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram. Kamara went out early in that game a couple of weeks ago with a concussion, and I think he'll be ready to go against this Atlanta Falcon football team who's got a tough test on the road. I believe they have won, though, their last 3 games in a row against the Saints. So the Saints got their work cut out for them, but I'm picking the Saints to win this game. You know, what I believe is NFL game of the week between the Falcons and the Saints this weekend.
Definitely. I think it definitely is game of the week. So let's look at the playoff picture here. In the AFC, we got New England, Pittsburgh, Jacksonville, Kansas City, number 4, Tennessee, number 5, Bills, number 6, and then you got Ravens, 7, Chargers, 8. That from 4 down to 8 is could be very fluid, and you can see any one of those teams go up or down. And I think this Sunday has a lot riding on it for a lot of these teams. Looking at that AFC, kind of what's your thoughts on what do you think? Who do you think out of those couple of teams, out of probably 3 of them, looks like would actually make the playoffs? From Kansas City down to the Chargers, you think would make the playoffs?
Yeah, as we look at those standings, I mean, you got teams like Baltimore, who obviously can still control their own destiny. If they win their final 2 games, they're in. Buffalo, I don't think will get in because I think they're going to get dump trucked by the Patriots this weekend to effectively end their playoff chances. The Titans, they've got a tricky game on the tricky game, obviously, that we talked about against the Rams this weekend. The Kansas City Chiefs look to put themselves in position where they got a critical win last weekend on Saturday against the Los Angeles Chargers, and they will be at home versus the Dolphins this weekend, and then on the road to finish up their season against a bad Denver Bronco football team. So as I'm looking at teams 5 through 8, I mean, Tennessee has a chance if they could somehow steal a win this weekend. Buffalo, I don't think gets in. I think Baltimore ultimately will wind up getting that final wild card spot, and potentially the Titans potentially getting themselves in position to potentially make the playoffs there. But those last 4 teams between the Titans, the Bills, the Ravens, and the Chargers is up for grabs. I mean, the Chargers are still playing for a chance to win the AFC South or the AFC West. So if they are able to win their final 2 games, and then you see teams like Buffalo and the Tennessee Titans slip up, you could potentially see the Los Angeles Chargers slip in to that final wild card spot, because I do believe that Baltimore will get in ultimately and get either the 5th or 6th seed. And the Chargers, when you look at their schedule, they have a chance in these final 2 weeks when they play on the road at the Jets this weekend, and then they come back home to take on the Oakland Raiders. The Los Angeles Chargers have a prime opportunity to get themselves potentially in the playoffs, and depending on what happens with Kansas City over the next couple weeks, could either win the AFC West or get themselves a wild card spot. But if the Chargers lose and the Chiefs win this week, the Chiefs would clinch, obviously, the AFC West, and the Chargers are effectively out. So it may be a war of attrition, and just by the time we get to week 17 next week,
who's healthy, who still has it, who still has that momentum. So this is these last 2 weeks of the season are the most exciting time or the most fascinating football to watch, because you got a lot of playoff chances on the line. You also have potential spots to get home field advantage. So there's a lot to riding on that. Breaking news, though, just came out about, well, actually, it's not that breaking. It came out like 45 minutes ago, but it's breaking for us. The Steelers released 5-time Pro Bowler James Harrison after he only played 5 games this year. I know they signed him recently at the beginning of the year or during the offseason. So I'm a little bit surprised about that, especially going into the playoffs, unless maybe he's injured or something. That's the only thing I can think of why they would let him go at this point in time in the season. But that was interesting that came out. The Steelers have been on a roll. They're right there at number 2. They still have a possibility to jump over the Patriots. They're going to need some things to go down. But the one thing I want to talk about, it's a team that's not in the hunt anymore. But what happened to the Raiders this year? What they were on last year, everybody was saying they can compete with the Patriots. We thought we were going to see Tuck Rule game part 2, or Patriots Raiders part 2. But to me, this team has struggled. I'm going to be honest right here. I like Marshawn Lynch coming to the Raiders, but I think it's been a little bit of a distraction. I think he is one of the best running backs in the league, but him and some of the sideline frustrations, getting suspended, I don't know how much they were depending on Beast Mode to come in and do for this team. I don't know if it was maybe just a pickup and we'll see what he can do, or if it was a pickup and you're the starter and we need you to do everything, because he hasn't really been able to do that. Yes, he's been good. I think Derek Carr was out for a couple of games that affected them. I don't think he's still fully healthy, but I do think they can get back to having a winning record going into next year. Right now, the best they can get is 8-8, obviously, and they're already eliminated. So I wanted to ask you that because, man, I know we're football fans, and when you have the Raiders playing good, when you have the Cowboys playing good, when you have those historic teams playing good, the NFL is just better.
Yeah. No, I agree. The NFL is much better when the Raiders are competitive. They were doomed by a bad stretch of football games really early in the season. I mean, they started off 2-0 with wins over the Titans and the Jets, but then they lost 4 straight to the Washington football team, to Denver, to Baltimore, and then a 1-point loss at home versus the Chargers. This is a team that's been marked by inconsistency. Amari Cooper has, to me, taken a step back this year. Yes. Has dropped the football way too many times for a guy who we consider, or at least I consider, to be a potential elite receiver in the game. Has dropped way too many balls this year, has dealt with injuries this year. Obviously, as you mentioned, Marshawn Lynch coming into this Oakland franchise where we thought that they would have a punishing running game, especially behind one of the best offensive line. To me, I consider the Oakland Raiders offensive line the second best offensive line behind the Dallas Cowboys, anchored by guys like Donald Penn, and then you add a guy in Marshawn Lynch back there who we thought would bring some balance to this Oakland Raider football team. Has just been marked by inconsistency all season. Defensively, they struggled at times, 21st in the league in total defense, and offensively has just not been able to put it together on a consistent basis week in and week out. And I think Marshawn Lynch has been good for the city of Oakland. I think he brings a personality and a swagger to this Oakland Raider football team, but the meshing of it this year did not come together in the way that I think they thought it would and hoped it would, because I think the Raiders and a lot of Raiders fans thought that Marshawn Lynch was the missing piece to a potential Super Bowl championship team, especially when you have reigning Defensive Player of the Year and Khalil Mack on the other side of the football defensively for this Raider football team. But as a collective unit, they've struggled with injuries. At the cornerback position, David Emerson hasn't played a game since October 19th, one of their better corners. So this team has just been marked by inconsistency all year, and I think a microcosm of that was seen last week against the Dallas Cowboys, where Derek Carr trying to make a play at the end of the game, fumbles the ball out of the back of the end zone, and a team that was just been trying to make plays has just come up short this year. I don't think it's necessarily a matter of talent, but I think it's a matter of health and continuity when it comes to the offensive side of the ball. But Amari Cooper, to me, has been a big disappointment this year, not only dealing with the injuries, but the amount of dropped footballs that he has had this year. So I think Oakland can bounce back. I still think Derek Carr is still one of the better young quarterbacks in the National Football League. And I think next year they will have an opportunity to get back, especially with Marshawn Lynch going into his second year with this Oakland Raider football team. I think they were just marked by inconsistency, injury, and at times just a bad stretch of football at times this year. But you're right, the league is much better when the Oakland Raiders are playing well, and we saw the excitement that they had last year with this football team. And I think next year, before Derek Carr got injured, obviously, but this Oakland Raider football team, I think, will be back. But they've got to get better on the defensive side of the football. I think Obi Melanfanu, the rookie corner out of UConn, will be a very good player for this football team next year. And they've got to get healthy on the defensive side of the football, get more depth. Bruce Irvin has been okay for them defensively, but the inconsistency on the defensive side of the football, I think, is what has done them in. And Amari Cooper taking a step back has not helped them on the offensive side of the football this year.
Yeah, the Amari Cooper has been a huge disappointment to me. The main reason is because I have him in my fantasy league. I actually have him and Crabtree. So I was thinking, wow, I've got a combo right here that nobody else in my fantasy league has. So I should be blowing everybody away week after week after week, not putting up numbers. I think part of it is because he's injured. I don't know what I don't know if he's playing this weekend or not. I'm not starting him though, obviously. But I think Amari Cooper is not at full health, and I think that's a huge reason why he's not, I think, putting up those numbers. I think he's still trying to go at it, but you can kind of tell when you're not playing most of the downs and you're the top wide receiver on the team that there's something wrong. But I think they'll have a bounce back year next year, and so we'll see what happens. So we are going to take a break, and then right after that, we're going to talk Cowboys versus Seahawks, a huge matchup, a lot to get into. Got the injury update, the official injury update for the game. Also, we'll talk about their playoff chances and the NFC and what it's looking like over there with the playoff chances for those teams. So we'll be right back. Stay tuned into the BS3 Sports Show. I'm your host, Ben BS3, and we got Kevin Gray in studio. We'll be right back.
Experience Grooming Studio. The look, the feel, the lifestyle. This is not your average or typical barbershop or hair salon. It is an experience. Master barbers, experienced hairstylists, estheticians, nail techs, complimentary drinks, car wash services, the list goes on and on. All headed by Jerome P. Jones, Master Barber. So come and enjoy the look, the feel, and the lifestyle at the Jones Experience Grooming Studio at 4041 West Wheatland Road, Dallas, Texas 75237. For booking info, go to jonesexperiencedallas.com.
Faith Walkers Charities, a faith-based organization focused on community outreach in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Their mission is to provide for those who are in need with a holistic approach while leading them to stability. Faith Walkers Charities was founded by DeAnthony Thompson, Seaver Nickerson, and Chris Rogers, with the vision of being generous and helping out the homeless. There's many ways that you can help with this organization, either by donating through their website, faithwalkerscharities.org, or if you are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you can go out in the community and serve with them. So faithwalkerscharities.org. Also, follow them on social media, Faith Walkers Charities. Wholeteam Enterprises is a marketing firm specializing in graphic design, web design, branding, marketing, and commercial printing services. Take your project to the next level. I've used the services before, got some great business cards, and it is bringing in business for me. So visit the website, Wholeteam.com.